Good afternoon, everyone. This is Pete Gillies, former chief pilot of Western Helicopters here in Southern California. I'm going to be commenting on an accident that the NTSB investigated and I saw pictures of, which validated my constant reminder to pilots to apply aft cyclic first when power is lost to the rotor system. The accident was a medical ship that crashed with no survivors over level ground, no obstructions whatsoever, 1 mile short of an airport. It ran out of fuel. On board, the pilot, 2 medical technicians, and the patient. Everything was destroyed. There were no survivors. The aircraft was almost unrecognizable. And again, level ground, no obstructions, no reason that a normal, survivable autorotation should not have worked just fine. The accident occurred on August 26, 2011. I saw photos of this accident and knew in my own heart the problem was, for whatever reason, the pilot did not apply aft cyclic when the power was lost to the rotor system. I knew that just by looking at the wreckage, the fact that the rotor blades were largely undamaged, that there were no obstructions, no trees, wires, nothing. This was flat ground, 1 mile short of an airport. So, in 2013, the Heli-Expo was held in Las Vegas. And a few days before the expo, I received a phone call from Jim Silliman, NTSB investigator, asking if I would meet with Jim and a fellow pilot, fellow investigator, prior to the convention. He had heard I was going to attend Heli-Expo. I verified I would be there and be happy to meet with him. He said, yes, we'd just like to talk to you before the convention. No hint about what, so forth. So on the appointed morning, the convention opened, I met with Jim and his fellow investigator, helicopter pilot, Georgia Struhsaker. I met with them in the lobby of the hotel, and much to my surprise, he wanted to talk about Cyclic Back. He and Georgia were going to put on a seminar that afternoon at the convention. Would I like to attend? And it would be all about Cyclic Back. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was the best news I'd heard in centuries, really. Of course I agreed to attend. And we discussed a little bit about the accident, but nothing about how to prevent it, nothing. They just confirmed, he and Georgia confirmed, please attend if you can. Well, of course I was there. And I was so impressed with the seminar put on by Georgia and Jim Silliman. Fantastic. All the right things were said, and they had a beautiful video of Georgia flying a full motion sim, AS350 B simulator. First showing an engine out and a survivable, no damage landing with no obstruction, just putting it down in the dirt and a normal amount of rocking and rolling and so forth, but nothing bent, nothing broken, nobody hurt. Then the same accident was initiated, the same flight profile was initiated, and this time when the throttle was chopped, Georgia did not apply aft cyclic. The flight profile looked okay in the very first few seconds, but then everything went completely bad, and the aircraft crashed horribly. It was obvious that in the real world it would not have been survivable. It was out of control, and it's a simulator, but there was no question that the way it ended would be extremely damaging to the aircraft and its occupants. That was to show that if cyclic back is applied in time, and the rotor RPM is maintained somewhere in the green for the descent, you then have energy in the rotor system to flare and bring the aircraft to the best possible stop before touching ground. But miss that cyclic back, and the simulator 3D showed exactly what will happen. Okay, now what's going on here? Cyclic back applies to every conventional helicopter regardless of size, make, color, number of rotor blades, power plant, so forth. If it's a helicopter, cyclic back applies. You can have two rotor systems, you can have contra-rotating rotor systems, you can have any kind of a conventional helicopter system where the blades have pitch and are pushing air down to make you go up and forward. All of them will auto-rotate. I have yet to see a helicopter of any size, make or model, that won't auto-rotate. When the power is lost to the rotor system in a normal flight, rotor RPM starts dropping instantly, and the more power you're pulling at the time, the more rapidly rotor RPM is falling on the rotor tack. As long as the rotor RPM is somewhere in the green, the rotor system is happy. When the rotor RPM drops below green because the pilot has not applied aft cyclic and reversed airflow through the rotor system, when it drops below green, you're on your way to the end of your career. As the rotor RPM drops below red line, there is a point unmarked on the rotor tack, beyond which, if you allow the rotor to get that far or beyond with no power to bring it back, the flight is over. And normally the impact is so severe, there are no survivors. Upper red line, green, low red, you go anywhere in there you want, and the helicopter is willing to do anything. You want to stop? Want to back up? Slide sideways? Turn around? Ask it. Keep the rotor in the green. Keep the collective down. You can go down vertically. We could go down vertically from the top of Mount Baldy, which I can see from here, 10,000 feet, straight down vertically, doing 360s, backing up, all that, with the needles split, the engine idling. Helicopter's in a full auto rotation. It doesn't need airspeed. If you're going to try and stretch a glide or something, yes, there's a best airspeed for your particular make and model, quite possibly. But as far as maintaining control of the helicopter and having something left to help you slow down, maybe even stop at ground or water contact, as far as that's concerned, if you have not applied aft cyclic in time, once the rotor RPM gets past that point, unmarked on your rotor tack, there's nothing you can do. You've got to put things in order. Rotor RPM is lost, aft cyclic, collective down, now pick a place to land. If you're within gliding distance of an airport, you might even be talking to the tower. Well, I'll give you permission to land anywhere on the airport you wish, pilot's discretion, whatever. But most of the time, we are not sitting within gliding distance of the airport, and you're going to now have to make a command decision. If you have two crew and the other guy or girl is flying, great, you might be able to fix the problem on the way down. But if it's out of fuel or something broke, you have no power to the rotor system. It will give you the capabilities of a fully controlled glider if you will just be sure you have not lost more than X amount of rotor RPM. As long as you're in the green, fine. But below that, all of a sudden, you realize you can't get it back and the flight is over. So that's the message. And the NTSB presentation at Las Vegas was outstanding. Both Jim and Georgia have retired, but they are the ones that put this on, and I'm sure it is in the NTSB vaults somewhere. Someone must have recorded this. I would love to see it, the video of it. Thank you so much for listening to this video, and I hope you remember one thing. Power lost to the rotor system aft cyclic. At that point, you've converted the helicopter to a glider. A glider's wings stay on. You have complete control of a glider until ground contact. The equivalent of not applying cyclic back in a helicopter in time is your wings disappear. Your rotor blades are still there, but they can no longer provide any lift for you. It's the equivalent in an airplane of the wings falling off. That's not good. So that's the message. Thank you for your patience in listening to this, and please forgive any verbal goofs I've made here in sharing this information with you. Thank you so much. Now this is the NTSB, and I have at that point a feeling of elation I can't describe to you. I thought after all these months and years of trying to get Cyclic Back recognized for the critical importance it is, I thought this is a miracle. The NTSB of all organizations has just done this beautiful presentation, and the room was packed, the applause was tremendous. It made a big difference.